श्रीमते रामानुजाय नमः। It was a very serious discussion that has been conducted in the universe about the force of sustenance. The whole world is not equally distributed in its resources. There are people who are suffering, there are people who are poor, there are people who are incomplete, there are people who are insecure. But still, what is the primary force that makes the world to function in a perfect manner? It is not resources, it is not gravity, it is not magnetism, but they have identified it is the source of faith and hope. That there exists something, there is something which is activating, there is something which is making us to live in this life expecting a day of dawn, a hope of a ray of light at a particular time will be there. So this is that hope, which is a hope of each and everybody who is despicable, deplorable and downtrodden. This is something far beyond the sense of rational, and we have to understand what the systematic, organized way of understanding faith is. There are innumerable faiths. The Shastra says that there is something known as innate faith. If a person is properly ceremonized, if a person is formally begotten by means of a divine way of impregnation and a penance that has been taken by the parents to beget a good child for the society, for the lineage and for the worldly benefit at large, for global welfare, certainly the child will be born with sanskara, the Sanskrita or the refined child will have the innate belief of attraction towards the righteous path and truthful element as well as repulsion towards fallacious, fictional, unwanted and adverse elements. It is a natural gift which cannot be identified by science or which cannot be just harnessed by means of technical facilities. So this is known as innate faith, which comes in few people, very limited people, as a contribution of their ancestors, for their parents, and by the very great beneficial vision of transcendental personalities, and no doubt the most beneficial shower of the great God himself. He has made him a tool for implanting proper devotion and orderly way of social life. So that is innate belief. And second is experiential belief, to experience something and get from that. Second is also various varieties of experiences are there. Mystic experience is there, metaphysical experience is there, mingled operative experience is there. There are innumerable types. The third thing is exposure, coming out something from the experiences of other people. That is also a source of faith. Faith can come from inside, faith can come out of experience, it can come as a reflection of experiences of various people outside. So this is also a type of faith system. Submissive faith is there, extended faith is there. What is extended faith? If I experience a fragment of a truthful element, just as in Salipulaka Nyaya, if I experience absolute truth in a fragment of an element, I can infer. It is known as inferential logic or probability inference in supralogical system. If I infer something as absolute truth as a fragment in the system, I can clearly infer that the rest of will certainly be equipotentially positive and evidential in nature. If I have a fragmental assurance, I can infer that everything that is composed as componential standards along with that, that will be also part and parcel of the same truth. It is known as extended belief. Submissive belief. If a person is trustworthy, if a person is inspiring and captivating, such a person is known as aptakama. That is the Tritiya Pramana. Whenever a person is becoming axiomatic, self-evidential, anything that the person does, beyond any doubt, Guru Rajna Vicharaniya, beyond any rational, beyond any sort of interrogation, beyond any sense of the spell of even suspicion, ambiguity and obscurity, that thing can be directly had. These are innumerable systems of life. So whenever we say about faith, immediately the scientists, the skeptics, the rationals and the so-called non-residential earthly denizens of the world, immediately they come for a very great battle, saying that life is blind. No doubt there is a blind faith, there is a fragile faith, there is a weaker faith, there is an impediment in faith, there is also certain type of faith which is superstitious, but how can you say that all faiths are blind in nature? We have to understand there is such a system of faith. So whenever we come into the question of combat between faith and reasoning, we have to understand only a basic point. There are four things to be understood. One is to understand about the faith. Second is to understand about the reason. Third is to have faith on reasoning. Fourth is to find out the reason behind the faith. In which the first three things have been understood by the society. The fourth thing is Chaturtham Bhasham Nakopi Janati. The fourth thing is not identified. Everybody understands what is faith. And everybody understood that what is reasoning. They have understood that that which has reasoning and some empirical proof that is to be laid with faith. If something is proved with reason, we have to lay faith. They have forgotten to understand that before understanding what it is faith, there is a reason behind it. There are two types of things. There are two types of things in practices. You learn and practice. You practice and learn. Whenever you come into swimming, nobody can say that I will swim in the floor and then I will start in water. So you get inside and get in there. What is the difference between spirituality and scientific way of studying? Spirituality deals with faith which can give you reasoning by your inner realization. Whereas science deals with the system of reasoning by which you can empirically understand and develop faith in yourself. So reason brings faith in science and faith brings reasoning as inner realization in spirituality. So instead of finding historicity by all means, you have to understand that something is supra-historical, para-historical and onto-historical, which is a type of, for example, even if you want to understand, there are two things which I want to say in the science of pedagogy of spiritual literature. Number one, even though everything is knowledge, can you get binomial nomenclature of all organic human beings in a physics book? Can we get in a mathematics book or English non-detail? Everything is knowledge. You have to select a particular subject to get whatever you want. If you want to know about chemicals, you have to look at chemistry. Considering all our different knowledge forms, you cannot see in musicology. Unless there is an interdisciplinary study, you cannot go there. And the second rule is, even in that faculty, you have to go to the depth of all of these things. For example, if there is a 10th standard biology, you cannot understand the function of genetic engineering and molecular protein development that happens in the genetic species. You cannot understand or you cannot get that, follow that message in 10th standard subject. You have to go further. So, the understanding of divine personalities, their existence, their immanence, their balance, glamour, incarnation, curvation and eternal reputation of being imprinted in the minds of the people, serving as the only source of solace, comfort, prosperity, progress, integrity and liberation should be understood in a different subject at a different depth. Searching all of these things is just like searching about algebra in physics books. So, it is an elementary vision. History is an elementary knowledge which is about the collections of thousands of ruins and residual manuscripts. In that searching about somebody else and incarnation, greater things itself is an insult to divinity at all. What we can search about this is the possibilities of the lineage we can get, not about the origination of the faculty at all. So, God cannot be searched by history because He is a mystery. He is far beyond even the acceptability or intelligibility of human intelligence and capability of mere trial and searching with a tool is just like a person willing to measure the ocean with his thumb. It is not possible. So, there is a portion for history, there is a portion for spiritual realization, there is a portion for social understanding and amalgamation of the concepts for all-round benefit. So, one has to possess three approaches. One is the scientific approach, which is 1/10 of the approach. Everything you cannot go by science. We require science for interpretation. We require science for propagation. But that is only a pickle, a 10% tool. 50% it should be realized by spiritual advancement and personal realization and system of belief, which is not from blindness. Even if it is blindness, you see, you should understand. Somebody told what is blind faith in devotion. I told that if a person inside a cab which is driven by an expert driver at the time of night, if the person closes his eyes and sleeps, that is known as the blindness. But the blindness has two vigilances or two caution measures. One, he is taken care by a vigilant driver, that is why the person is closing. And number two, before getting inside that cab, he was not blind. Visibly he entered inside, he selected the seat and verifying that the place to be reached by the vehicle is the same or not, then only he sat inside that. So it is an initial research, total surrender and complete blindness. If you reach the particular abode and somebody is taking care of you, what is the difference between you opening your eyes and closing the eyes? Does it make any difference in your journey? So spiritual blindness is a consequential exercise after surrender and proper selection by rationale. So it is born with rationale. Spiritual things are composed by Brahmavadis. Innumerable questions you can ask, innumerable clarifications you can get, innumerable debates and comparisons about Brahman. It is not a total blind exercise, but still, after getting the right path, after getting the realization, everything becomes blind. It is an effect and it is not an effort. Blindness is not an effort, but effect. So this is the difference between faith and reasoning in the world. Each and everything has its own flaws. Even reasoning is that innumerable systems. You see, there was a physics. Now recently, the great reciprocal physics of Lorentz has come. The theory of relativity is being subjected to various discussions by people, even after the Einsteinian physical thoughts. And now there is post-Newtonian dynamics, a new dimension of advanced version of what Newton has never thought at all. It is coming into vogue. So even the so-called reasoning by you, it is subjected to modifications, additions, annihilations, negations, perversions, insufficiencies, and all other evils of what you call that as the storehouse in field. So in the same thing, faith, whatever you call, there is also the flaw that is subjected in the reasoning zone. So reasoning has its own flaws. If reasoning is a substantial tool, but it can have also flaws, why can't faith, a flawful tool, can have its own sophisticated and consolidated dimension? So just as there is a fragile system of reasoning, there is a flawless system of faith, and spiritual lineage and scriptural dimensions have come from that flawless dimension at all. And number three, everybody they want evidence. Who are you? What is the evidence? And that's what I told. Even after a decade, if you ask somebody their name and address, they have to verify the laptop or computer or BlackBerry, and they have to say it. So much they will forget their identity at all. Everything is based on identity. Who are you? Have you taken food? What is the proof? Everything, for each and everything there is a proof. But evidences are classified. Exact evidences. Yes, I have seen Rama. I have moved with you. So Avatara, incarnation means there are innumerable occasions of incarnation. One, at the time of Janma Avatarana. Second, if somebody prays for the God, he gives Punardarshana, that is Prarthana Avatarana. Then Alaya Avatarana, wherever the places are there where Abhimanis and Siddhas and Vaishnavas, they invite the God, God comes in the sanctuary. That is, so God has Vyapti, Punardarshana, Punapunardarshana, Sandhi, Granthi, Sannidhis, Sannidhitatva, innumerable types of dimensions are there. So exact evidence is, I have seen it. Effective evidence is, I have seen a person who has seen it. Corroborative evidence is, I have having equivalent evidences which can substitute or which can dimensionally support what you are having. It can give add-on value but not having an independent value. And contradictory evidence is, no, Rama is not the son of Dasharatha. He is the son of Pulastya. He is the son of Ravana. And Ravana did not abduct Sita. Rama abducted Sita from Ravana. Something of these things are contradictory evidences. So there is residual evidence, which is the final most evidence that is coming in epigraphical, material evidence, literary evidence, and traditional evidence. Innumerable things are there which are made by scientific findings. What are the problems in finding the historicity of Rama? We have to address it first. And number one, whether a person existed or not, like that. It does not end with whether a person existed or not. Okay, if a person has extended his existence in the world, what is the status of the person? See, there are three types of things. A normal person can be very much exaggerated, and it is what we call deification. Great rulers and publicly helping people in the society, in the social anthropology, we are seeing lot of munificent lords, magnanimous donors, and the small kings and partial rulers. They have been highly glorified by poets, and they have been composed and pre-modified into deification in the form of gods, demigods, or sub-gods in the area. So whether even the person exists or not, is the person's status is exact. If Rama exists, is Rama the incarnation of Vishnu, the ruler of Ayodhya, and everything is the same. What is his personal description? The third thing is incidents. Even if the person's status is proved, all the incidents, are they true or not? Without any exaggeration, without any interpolation, without any modification, without any type of nihilation or any type of paranormal presentation of normal things, whether it has been attempted or not. Fourth thing is, even if the incidents have happened, did it happen accurately as per the description or not? So these are all the various things. And fifth thing is period. There is always a clash between theologians and this history. Whenever they say yuga, the cycle of yuga has innumerable dimensions. And I want to say, he mentioned about the sandhi of yuga, the Trilith period. It has been told in the Shastras that shatamsha sandhi. In each and every yuga, 100th of the portion mingled together, it forms a concave between them, that is known as sandhi yuga. That is in Prapanchotpatti Rahasya 1. And number 2, you should understand that each and every yuga has yugantara. Just as having sandhi, desha, buddhi, antara, and antarantara in astrology, you are having also yuga, yugantara, yugantarantara. In Krita Yuga also, Krita, well done is known as Krita. Treta means 3/4 done. Dwapara is half done. Kalushita is Kali. That which is confused is known as Kali. So each and every yuga has the cyclic rotations of the same thing. So there is Krita Krita, Krita Treta, Krita Dwapara, Krita Kali. Krita Krita Krita, Krita Krita Dwapara, Krita Krita Treta, Krita Krita Kali. Right, and you can have any number of dimensions are possible, and we have to discuss it in a different seminar. So this periodicity of establishing the time of a person is also very much confusing. And coming to material archaeology, even if you get an element, how you can get an element? He has well said that you cannot get an element which has been, for example, there are 5 things. One is bhasmikaran, that which is reduced into ashes. Second thing is nimagna, that which is immersed in water. See, there is something known as laya. What is laya? There are 3 types of laya. One is laya, second is vilaya, third is pradaya. Laya is, for example, if there is a mud pot, pottery, terracotta, they have identified in Sumerian, Mesopotamian, Incan, Mayan civilizations. If it is put inside the earth without any use, it is laya. If it becomes the same earth itself, putting something into fire that becomes ash, then gets into mud and becomes earth. That which is dispersed inside the water, that becomes hydroatomic in nature and dispersed. That which is put inside the earth will become the earth itself. That which is put in the akasha, that will become submolecular or subatomic in nature and dispersed totally beyond your visibility. So something that is going out of your usage and sight is known as laya. Something that is going beyond its material nature, merging with the primordial element, Prakriti, is known as Vilaya. The total work being absorbed by the belly of God is known as Pradaya. So then there is a period of lakhs of years whereby these things would have been merged into the primordial basis and fundamental elements, where you can get, if somebody says that there is an archaeological evidence for the exact thing, that is known as robbery. That is known as blackguardism. That is known as absurdity, idiocy and foolishness. So Rama not having archaeological evidence itself is an evidence for Rama. If you get an element, what is the surety that the element is of that age? That is carbon dating. There is seasoning. There is date understanding. That is a tripular understanding, follicular understanding, fossil studies, innumerable scientific methods we have invented. Okay. Even if the age is there, what is the connectivity between those things? Somebody asked, there is some sort of missile invented at Dwaraka. Okay. That shows that there was a missile. What is the exact connectivity of the same thing with Krishna? You have to bring only literature for everything. How you can bring the element? Even if the person is Krishna, which Krishna is that? He told about Vishwamitra. Which Vishwamitra? He is an Adhikari Purusha. Vishwamitra Sasuktam Bhavati. So says the Veda. It is the name of a person and post, like commissioner. Which commissioner? Of which era? So even in archaeological evidence, it is not complete because you cannot date the element. Even if you date the element, you cannot establish connectivity through archaeology. Even if you establish the connectivity, personal identification of the exact person, how it can be imagined in archaeology? Archaeology is having a different area. It is the difference between cookery and doing something in furnace. Both are dealing with fire, but that is different. It is just like the difference between a tailor's work and a surgeon's work. Both are having a needle and thread, but the work is different. So archaeology has its own limitation and it has its own periodicity of starting. So whenever people started to do something in Laya, archaeology can understand. Whenever that is in Vilaya, theology can understand. Whenever something is in Pradaya, only super spiritual understanding and liberation can understand. So spiritual history, religious history and social history. Social history deals with Laya, religious history deals with Vilaya, and spiritual history can only deal with Pradaya. This is the way of understanding this thing. And coming into the real sector of what we call Ramayana, what is the problem? You should have a greater belief. Somebody, he put a very good suggestion, but that was a weaker suggestion. He told that you believe your father, you believe your grandfather and your ancestors. Why can't you believe Rama? What is the proof of your grandfather? It is not so. It is a weaker source of showing something for mitigating our theory. Because whenever you say about something, about your family, X or Y should have been there. Knowing and not knowing makes a difference. Whenever you have to worship somebody, surrender somebody, you should have a clarity. Whereas in the family, it is not a must. So whenever you are showing somebody as a greater element for a common society, for a wider approach, for a greater benefit at a mega and meta transformative level, you should have a proper tool of mitigation or establishment of theory in the society. And merely showing our ancestral ignorance towards Rama's ignorance, it is not a suitable thing. You should have a greater belief
and also a powerful tool for that. And saying that we believe ourselves, our mother says he is our father, we believe. Those things are little different, and science has nullified because of DNA test. Now you can prove whether the mother says or not. So innumerable things are there. So just as he has rightly pointed out, most of the problems caused to Ramayana is made by people, those who have constructed temples worshipping Rama and written and reading Ramayana. Most of the spiritual people, because of over-enthusiasm, because of extremism, chauvinism, negligence, ignorance, subservience, cultural invasion and fusion, those people, they have spoiled the greatness of Ramayana. They have forgotten to establish, vindicate the pride of Ramayana when it was in opposition. It is a very, very late awakening and awareness that is happening in the society, and it is a very pitiable area also. And coming into Puranas, if you accept Ramayana, you have to accept it. What is the type of accepting Ramayana? How we should accept Ramayana, I want to say and conclude this issue. Number one, there are few intricacies in Ramayana which are also some sort of imbalanceable elements that are hidden in all Puranas. Number one is, you are seeing innumerable structures in Ramayana which have elucidation. It was 1000 yojanas length, 200 yojanas height. There are innumerable descriptions for a yojana. In astronomy that is different, in Jyotisha that is different, astrology it is different, in Puranas it is different, 11.3, 11.2, 11.7, 13, 13.1, 13.8, 21, these are all the descriptions for yojanas in different ways. So even if you accept as 10 miles, 1000 miles somebody's child was gone. So innumerable descriptions are there. How to conclude them? How to justify? If it is true exactly, then it should be also true. If you take something as exaggeration, then the possibility of that also to be exaggeration will also pervade that. In logics, it is known as pervasion of fallacy. If you prove a composite element, you have to prove it fully. If you say that this is total, then everything will be totally fallacious in nature. So you have to understand this. The second problem, apart from this, is paranormal phenomena. Persons flying, transfiguration, configuration, self-figuration, astral travel, innumerable things are paranormal gadgets are there, like Pushpa Vimana, Padatrana, these are all the gadgets. Apart from the personal psychic powers of activation, conducting astral travel, Grahantara Sanchara, Deshatara Sanchara, Dehatara Sanchara, Agragrahana, Saragrahana, Shapadana, Varadana, Yogadana, innumerable things are there. You can petrify, Ahalya was petrified into stone. You can create something. And the third thing is supragenetics. Very third problem to modern genetics in mythology is supragenetics. There are special people known as rishis. Those who are born civilized, not acquired civilization as per the modern science. Number two, there were apsaras. There were innumerable other denizens like Naga, Kinnara, Kimpurusha and other people. And people were created by will instead of the normal genesis, biogenesis, abogenesis, asexual production, sexual reproduction. Instead of the normal means, you have seen people who have been made out of vivification. Throw water, immediately it will come from a stone. Then cursing a person to become already a told. So you can create somebody by your will, cognitive will. So these things are known as supragenetics. And the final thing is exobiosis, life in the other planets. Somebody told Neil Armstrong did not visit the moon. First time it was Dasharatha who was invited by Chandra. So this type of things, exobiosis, interplanetary travel and innumerable things. One more thing is anthropomorphism. We have dealt with that. How we can call them. Even Sita asked, Naranam, Vanarancha. Kathamasit Samagama. How these human beings have interacted with these Vanaras, with these monkeys, and how this relation has been built. So innumerable such discussions are there. They have interpreted in the traditional language as totemism. You must not have heard about totemism, like shamanism and animalism. Totemism is a particular type of ancient primitive culture in which they believe that human beings have a common origination between animals and humans. A totem deer is known as Jambavan. A totem monkey, it is known as Hanuman or somebody else. A totem vulture is known as Jatayu. How a person can be anthropomorphic? It is possible, just as in planets, in lower planets, even the higher elements are there, they will be lower than even the lower elements of the higher planets. You should understand, you should hear it 3 times. We are in the lower planet, we are on the higher elements. We will be lower than naturally. For example, a servant maid in America will earn more than a GM or a managing director of a company here. Naturally, I want to put the small example. Like that, it is anthropomorphism. Innumerable such things are there. There are innumerable things. Even somebody depicted that it is a fight between Dravidians and Aryans. Somebody told that it is fight between Brahmanism and Buddhism. And somebody concluded that it is allegorical. Rama, Ravana, everybody, they are allegorical. They are representing goodness and evil. Really nobody existed. Even in our religion, we have innumerable Ramayanas, you know that. Allegorical Ramayanas are there. Figurative Ramayanas are there. Metaphysical and metaphorical way of rendering is there. So, innumerable type of Ramayanas are there. Why this problem started, I want to hit a small thing. Because the understanding the origin of universe itself is wrong in our culture. Because we are believing the European culture or the Western knowledge, number one. When this universe was created 17 to 20 billion years ago, then this earth was formed 4.5 billion years ago. Then life, the unicellular organisms, they have been formed 3.5 billion years ago. When the Homo sapiens, the human beings, they started 5 to 7 million years ago. Then civilization started just before 3500 to 1020 BC was considered to be the area of civilization by these people, like Maonian civilization, the Minoan civilization of the Greek, and the industrial civilization between 3500 and 1200 BC. So, understanding the origin of the universe, origin of the birth, origin of life, origin of human beings and civilization, why there is a gap? From 3000 BC, within this 5000 years we have reached. What is the reason that has now protected these people from being civilized for millions of years ago? There is not proper answer. So, as we have concluded, as the Europeans have concluded that number one, the universe and human life is formed only out of chimpanzees. And second thing, it is a very recent abortination. So, that which is before the era of Christ. And especially their calculation of the 3000 years of civilization, whatever that crosses that limit, they cannot digest at all. They will try their level best to suppress the same thing, to be put into para-historical realm, like fission, imagination like that, or they will try to postpone the same thing before AD or somewhat later BCs of 100 BC or 200 BC. This is the first problem. Without understanding this problem of Eurocentric interpretation of life formation and civilization, you cannot understand why history is to be revisited, revived and resurvived. You cannot understand all of these things without understanding this basic ideology. He has told about the software planetarium. Planetarium software has been made by Pushkar Bhatnagar, a very great scholar known as Pushkar Bhatnagar. He has made a good effort. He said that 5114 BC, January 10th was Rama's birthday, and September, exactly he has given the dates as if he was with Valmiki. September 12th, 5076, Hanuman met Sita, and 5077, October 9th, there was a dual solar eclipse at the time of the 30th year of exile. Everything is mentioned in planetarium, but that was condemned by lots of people because of the tradition which says that the sun is in the Aries will not have happened if it is there in the 10th of January. 10th of January cannot coincide with the tradition where we celebrate our Ramanavami, which may be in between April 13th and May 14th. And it cannot coincide with at all. And 12:30 here, if sun is in the Aries and Venus is in the Pisces, if the ascendant as well as the Jupiter and Moon, they are located in the Cancer, if there is Saturn in the Libra, if there is a possibility of the same Puja Mercury to be located in the Capricorn, there is no possibility of the person to be born in 12:30 p.m. but safely between 11 to 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. So there are innumerable astronomical clashes also. This is not a problem to Rama. Even there is a lot of historical debate going upon even Jesus, where 1/3 of the whole global population is worshipping Jesus. There is also a very great dimensional attack. Ellen Johnson is the Federation head of the atheist communication. He has declared that there is no historical evidence that there existed a person known as Jesus. Bertrand Russell, in his treatise Why I Am Not a Christian, he told that nobody can prove that Jesus exists. Even if he exists, I don't mind. It is not of any worth. That's why I am not a Christian. Very great author and historian, Bill Durant, he has mentioned that Krishna, Osiris, Attis, Adonis, then Mithras and Dionysius, these are all the various leaders of the period, like Krishna, Osiris, Attis, Adonis are the Greek, Roman, Mesopotamian, Incan and Mayan leaders who are also revolutionary. Most of the people are crucified, most of the people they have been taken in abduction or taken in exile. All of these things, most of the incidents are similar in nature, and he concluded, Bill Durant concluded that it is only a fictional webwork or network which has been culled out from various stories of the East and West. By Bill Durant. So it is not only visible in drama, even the Jesus Christ where the whole world believes. So there are also innumerable records. Like there is a very great record known as Flavius Josephus. Flavius Josephus was the first person to record Jesus. And Cornelius Tacitus, he was also the first person to record in antiquities of Jews. But everything was later founded as interpolations which have been introduced inside. I want to quote that the former director of the National Institute of Oceanography, Dr. S.R. Rao, he has clearly mentioned that Hampi, the present Hampi is the Kishkinda. Apart from that, Pattapadu, Posalapadu, Bandi Posalacheruva and Bitur, which is a place near Cancun, where they have identified some arc-colored pottery, OCP they say in archaeology, they have identified all of these things, where Rama lived, where Rama transports. Apart from that, there is also a place known as Ganeshwara in Rajasthan. There is also a place in the Bala Valley, which is known as Mahagara in Uttar Pradesh, where there are archaeological evidences which support the lineage of Rama. You should understand that is Surya Vamshashtiya, not exactly of Rama. If you say Rama, then you will get into the Yuga conflict, you will get into innumerable conflicts of the Vansha dynasty. There will be a very great clash of that going to happen. So, that which is, for example, Shankaracharya Kritam means we have filtered most of the books as concluded by somebody Shankaracharya in the Pita, like Shivananda Gali, this thing, etc. They cannot be concurred along with that of the coincidence of Prasthanatraya Bhashya of the original Shankaracharya. So, whenever you get something, it may be out of the lineage of the person, dynasty of the person, or the reminiscences of any other person following the tradition, or a tributary, it should be there. So, he has identified. Moreover, this S.R. Rao has quoted one thing. All the Vanaras are monkey-like people who are there living in the Neolithic area. According to even history, so it is known as Abhyugamyavada Riti. Even if I accept you, I can refute you. So, I have already told that I cannot accept history. Even if I accept history, you cannot stand before me, is the rule now. Even if you accept archaeology, this type of excavations from Hampi, Padsurpatta, Pursurpatta, then Bandipurusulacheru, all of these places, it proves that there was the Ikshvaku lineage. And the Neolithic people who existed at the time of people, at the time of these Rama era, they were none but the Vanaras who have been specified because of their faith. Now also we are seeing a lot of children in a house who are functionally similar to Hanuman, and we are seeing a lot of people in the society who can be very hardly distinguished from the Hanuman-like creatures. So it is also existing now. Why can't it be there before several millennium or centuries? It may be possible from that. Apart from that, you should understand B.P. Lal, who has published the archaeological survey report for Ramayana's existence. That survey report he has told 5 archaeological sites. He is not a believer of Rama, he is not a religious person. He told that I cannot fully accept, but there is a kernel of truth, and I cannot say that it is a fictional construction. 5 archaeological sites have been surveyed by the person, and he has reported in 1975 Archaeological Site of India. It has launched 14 Kasauti style of a stone pillar bases. It has launched. It is kept in. It has been kept in silence, buried in silence without reporting and without mentioning the same thing to the public who are enthusiastic to know about Rama. It has been concealed inside. So it is archaeological survey report. He told about Sri Lanka. Sri Lankan government, Ministry of Tourism, they have made a committee. It is known as Ramayana Trailer Executive Committee. So you know about the foreign exchange. You give your money and get that money. Cultural exchange, like that quality exchange has happened between India and Sri Lanka. Sri Lankan people, they believe in Ravana and Rama, and these people where Rama was born, they don't believe at all. So the Ravana qualities have come to this administration, and Rama qualities have gone there as a project of cultural exchange or quality exchange. In which there was a very great person known as N.C.K. Kirleni. N.C.K. Kirleni is the director of this project. Recently he visited India and various departments. He addressed about the existence of Rama. They have published a book which I have to present to everybody. It is known as not merely Ramayana and Ravana, Ramayana and historical Ravana. Ravana proved by history. So Anuradhapura, Lagalla and Sigiriya, innumerable places like Sita Gufa, Sita Vati, Ashoka Vati, Ravana Falls, innumerable places they have identified and they have published it. And what he has mentioned is, it is a genuine incident. Ramayana is a genuine incident, but unfortunately we don't have vital evidences. The available evidences should be converted into history. Innumerable things he has suggested about Bharadwaja, existence of Rishishringa, existence of Vasishta, Vishwamitra. They are not evidences to Ramayana. See, there are 2 things. One is proof and something to be proved. If Rama is to be proved, if you say that Vishwamitra is also there, he also told, he is also one among the elements to be proved. He is not a proof. So, history is entirely different by giving proofs. History has innumerable other dimensions. Even if you quote Sankayana Sauta Sutra, the first reference of Rama is in the Vedas. He entered into the womb of a mother and he is born. And even in Yajurveda, there is a very direct representation. Rishayova pratyaksham indram na pashyan tam vasishtam pratyaksham apashyat. Here Indra Shabda denotes to Vishnu. Iti Parameshwariya Dhatu. So here, according to Yoga, nobody has seen that Brahman by tapas. Whereas Vasishtha has seen that particular Brahman Vishnu. So the Lord told in the Yajurveda Titiya Kanda, the Lord tells Vasishtha that making you as a Purohita, I am going to be born in the solar dynasty. That's why in Ramayana, Vishwamitra says, Vasishtopi Mahatejaha Yecheve Tapasistitaha. So there are innumerable proofs, but there are internal evidences. Number two, even if you say that there, W.L. Smith is a very great research scholar on Ramayana impact on Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, East Asia, Southern Asia. That is also not a proof. That is a validated proof of the impact of Ramayana. In art form, basic belief, religious infiltration, that is a proof for impact, not for the origination or authenticity of the story. And all the characters that you mention is also not the proof. They are also yet to be proved along with the Rama. They are also standing in queue so that they should be proved. So the exact proof is entirely different. First is the place. Rama has crossed innumerable places, you know, that starting from Ayodhya, Mithila, and there is even at Nepal there is a place known as Sita Marhi, where Sita was exactly born. And she has crossed Lumbini while coming back. And 249 BC, there was an edict of the Ashoka pillar. Ashoka has made a pillar and edict in which they have measured and marked the arrival of both Buddha as well as Rama and Sita. So 249 BC, that is also evidence in which the belief of the arrival of Rama that existed there. Then they came into innumerable places like Panchavati. He has told about Panchavati, how tourists are misled and misguided. So innumerable places, starting from the place they have come to Panchavati, then Rishyamukha Parvata, then Dhanushkoti, Sri Lanka, innumerable places. They reside at these places, and some sort of additional proof with our belief and followership that should be taken. And in the conclusion, I want to say 6 major rules for bringing out the real Rama in the society, not only in the society as a historical evidence, but also an inner evidence you have to bring Rama inside. When Rama is inside safe, outside he can be believed, he will be properly worshipped, and his glory and rule will withstand. To bring Rama inside is the only way to bring Rama outside. Number one, what we have to do? The first thing is, you should bring out all the archaeological findings. He has told that we have got a lot of collections of archaeological findings. So hidden archaeology, forbidden archaeology, conspiracy and archaeological findings made by J.E. Stelling is a very famous book which you have to read. So rule number one, we have to bring all findings and publish it in the net, made available for all people. The second thing is, we have to get into advanced methodologies of going beyond 60 meters in archaeological findings. That is not the methods. Radar detection, then distant collision methods, satellite detection methods, extent photography methods, Korba photography methods, nano photography methods. These things are to be brought in order to understand the real thing. Third thing is very important. The person should be impartial and unbiased. It is not that there is lot of reason because of the minority, those who are integrally majority, there is a fear of vote bank and vote supply, and people cannot take courageous measures for bringing out the real truth. That is a problem in the society. Even if you have science, even if you have all stuff and substances with you, if you don't have courage, if you are biased inside your mind, you cannot bring truth at all. Truth will be always here, hidden door and a distant star, and you cannot bring it. Number 4 thing is very important. You have to research on Ramayana in a historical perspective. It is known as archaeohistory or historio-archaeology, ancient history, historiography, ontohistoryology, innumerable things are there. Then somebody in one lecture, they asked me to prove Rama within a single statement. I told one thing. You see, you need not prove the things. If you prove the proof, you can get the validation of the primary element. So, Dhyaneshwara, Tukaram, Samarthadas, Ramadas, Kavi Ramadas, Bhadrachala Ramadasa, Kanagadasa, Purandaradasa, Tulasidasa, Tyagaraja, innumerable composers are there, innumerable saintly people are there. Those are envisioned Rama, experienced Rama, ecstatically coincide with Rama. They are true. If they are true and historically proved, automatically their experience is true. If their experience is true, unless the subject and object of the experience is true, how their experience is true? So history proves the hagiography, the visibility of saintly people. Saintly people are proved by which their experience is proved, by which a supra-historical proof, by which Rama is believed to be true because of the believers are true, their belief and experience and impact is true. They have composed innumerable things. They have created a very great mass transformation in the society. Considering this hagiographic influence, we have to conclude that as all the great devotees, it is not like we are naming Rama, we can name anything else. We can name Rama, we can name the streets in Rama, that is not there. Great persons, ecstatic, ecclesiastical and transcendental personalities, they have rejoiced Rama just as we are rejoicing food and jaggery. They have rejoiced Rama, mingled and merged with Rama, and they have given their experiences. They are flawless, They are totally the embodiment of transcendental truth. As they are all true, the object of their truth, Rama itself, should be nothing but the personification of truth and nothing else. The problem in the society is, as everybody is saying, if there is a thief, immediately he will see the other person as a thief only. We are all incomplete. So it is very difficult to accept a person who is complete in our mind at all. Then Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated. George Bernard Shaw told that after 100 years, people won't believe that such a person existed. And number two, when the Nazi victims are photographed by the British Army commander told person, he told, you have to release the photographs, otherwise some scholar or scoundrel will say that this thing did not happen. On all concentration camps, heaps of dead bodies have been photographed and published in satellites. He told that after a few years, some scoundrel may say, some scholar may say that it was not true. So we are all incomplete. So it is very difficult for us to believe a Purna Purusha. If God resides inside us, really we can do all of the wonders. So the sixth rule to believe Rama is to develop an attachment towards the scriptures and to instill culture and heritage. If there is purity, you can get clarity in thought. If there is clarity, you can get true knowledge. True knowledge reveals the real sense of culture and heritage. Culture and heritage reveal in the true sense that gives you religious understanding. Religious understanding gives you spiritual maturity. Spiritual maturity makes you not to search for Rama. It will make Rama to search for you and settle in your heart forever. That is the sixth rule. And I believe that we should make a campaign to create Rama. If there is no Rama, then we have to remove honesty, tranquility, liberation, eternity, perfection, precision. All words have to be removed from the dictionary. Rama is not a mythological character. Rama is not an Indian character. He is the personification of fulfillment and fullness of human endeavor. If you want to have a goal for your life, role model of your life, destination of your life, if you want to start your life, start with Rama. Conduct your life, conduct with Rama. Reach somewhere else, reach Rama. So he is the part and parcel of each and everybody's life, and taking the Rama's vision is nothing but taking human vision for perfection into humanity, then entering into divinity. So let us take this mission, which is very much urgency. Because of lack of Rama knowledge only, the whole world is suffering from global warming, terrorism, and all ugly effects. Let us reinstall Rama in the minds of the people, in the intellect of the people, in the real historical perspective and para-historical experience, and also in the books, also in the way of behavior and attachment to society as a good role model for citizenship, domesticship, personalship, as well as a global citizenship, by making the whole world to be in a real manner in which it was at the time of the creation of God, how God exemplifies this world to be. Let us make this noble mission to reach all corners of the society in a very effective manner, so that we can bring Rama Rajya being ruled by the representatives of Rama, even not directly by Rama. Narayana.